Okay, so you work for a large company, so you've got over 250 staff, or you've got a high turnover and balance sheet, that sort of thing, and you've been given the wonderful role of doing SECR. So number one, congratulations, you're helping to save the planet. That's a good thing. Bad news is there's quite a lot of work. So here we go. I'm aiming this video at 4 minutes to try and rattle through for you what is SECR, what you need to do, how you need to report it. So just the basics in 4 minutes. Well, I'll do a longer video later, goes into more detail, but this is the whistle stop tour. I hope you find it useful. So here we go. Let's see what we need to cover. So what is SECR? SECR is short for the Streamlined Energy and Carbon Reporting. It's part of the Environmental Reporting Guidelines legislation. It's not optional. If you qualify, you have to do it. This is this is about 150 pages of loveliness, and your job is to comply with that. Now, who has to do it? To start with, UK companies. If you're not a UK company, fine. Secondly, there's a 2-year qualification period. So if you don't qualify for SECR, you have to meet the criteria, which I'll show you in a second, for 2 years in a row, then you do. Similarly, if you are in SECR and you drop out, you need to drop out for 2 consecutive periods, i.e. you have to be under the thresholds for 2 consecutive financial periods. So that is generally your financial year, be it April to April or calendar. 2 years, and then you're out. If you're in SECR and you're out for 1 year, then you're back in again, so you meet the qualification, you have to do it, okay? It's called the Smoothing Regulations. It's part of the Companies Act 2006, okay? What are the criteria? So you have to be above 2 of these 3 criteria. First off, 36 million of turnover. Second, 18 million of balance sheet assets, and that's gross. And third is 250 staff. If you don't meet 2 of those, as I say, for 2 consecutive periods, you don't have to do it, okay? Now, what does that mean? If you've got 2 of these, you are qualified as a large company. If you're unsure about whether you qualify or not, either get in contact with us, we'll help you through it, this is what we do. And secondly, ask your accountant, they will know this stuff, okay? Penalties, well, if you don't do it, well, it's the law. So what's going to happen? I suppose the worst that happen is you'll get a court order against the directors, but that's highly unusual. I've never seen it happen because it's the law. If you're a company director, you have to follow it. Simple as that. How frequently do you have to do it? This has to be in your accounts. I'll come on to that where it goes about report format a bit later on. Has to go into the accounts, has to go in every year for which you meet the criteria, which is the criteria I described earlier. Okay, number 2, let's look at the data and the scope. What data do you need? You're going to need the following pieces of information. All of your energy use, be it gas and electricity, okay? All of your company car fuel purchases, be them sort of cash purchases, credit card, or fuel card. All of your company mileage reclaims. So when staff go from A to B and they climb typically at 45p a mile, you're going to need that. You're also going to need your F-gas usage. F-gas usage is the amount of refrigerant that they put into air conditioning systems. So when they come and service your aircon, they'll give you a statement of which refrigerant they used and how much they put in, generally because of leakage. Okay, you're also going to need all of your energy saving projects that you've done. Now, you've got to quantify these into how many kilograms of carbon you think they're going to save. That's a difficult calculation normally. LEDs, you're fine. To swap an LED light out, it's a very simple calc, but anything more complex than that, and good luck. You'll need, we use PLATO, that software, to sort of calculate all that for us. But if you're doing it manually, good luck. I hope that works really well, okay? That's what you need. Now, where do you need the data for? So the scope of SECR is any company that meets the criteria I outlined earlier. So generally that's your topco, That might be a PLC holding company, something like that, and any one of the subsidiaries that meet the criteria. Now, this is different to ESOS, because ESOS says if any one part of your group is in, everybody's in. That's not true for SECR, and it's done on a per company basis, okay? Now, it is optional whether you do SECR for the subsidiaries that don't qualify. In my experience, most people don't bother. They just look at the ones that do qualify. Okay, there you go. Preparation, data, and scope. So, number 3, you've got all your data, you know what scope you're looking at. What do you need to do? Well, you need to do the calculation about how many kilowatt hours you are producing or consuming. That's relatively straightforward for electricity and gas. It does get more complex with transport. You need also to look at how many kilograms of CO2 you emit through those processes. Okay? Those calcs you can do with a calculator, but good luck, I hope it goes really well. Most people use a piece of software, whether it's the Oracle SAP platform or, you know, we use PLATO, which is our software. It just makes the life about 1,000,000 times easier doing all the calcs. And you'll find also that your auditor will want to know how you derive the numbers. And the good news about using a software platform is you can click in and see how the numbers were sort of calculated with the audit trail and stuff like that. Okay, so you need to come up with those metrics there. The format you need to present them in is a pretty standard format. It's quite short, actually. You know, so the basic minimum SECR statement, it fits onto one page of A4 quite merrily. Some people go into a lot more detail. That's optional. You don't have to do that. The report format here, if you want to see an example of it, go onto our website, click the button, and you can just download a sample report. And that will show you exactly which bits you need to include. All right? Metrics. Now, they say that as your company is growing or shrinking, you need a way of comparing year 1 with year 2. And what they do is they ask for a metric, for example, turnover or square footage or number of staff, etc. And instead of saying, for example, you use 2 tons of CO2, you say, you're right, we use 2 tons of CO2 per person, or 2 tons of CO2, you know, per, you know, whatever it's going to be per square foot. Most people these days are choosing either square foot or turnover because it's easy. You can choose, if you're manufacturing, and choose whatever you manufacture in. So, for example, if you make cars, so many kilograms of CO2 per car and stuff like that. All sorts of complexity there. You're better off choosing square foot turnover because it's nice and simple to work out. And what you do there is you say that year 1 we used X, we produced X kilograms of CO2 per person. Year 2, you're looking to reduce that down and reduce that down. And as you grow, the number of people go up and down, and therefore you've got this comparable figure. Okay. You also need to compare it to the previous year. So, except in the first year where you haven't got the previous year. So that's quite straightforward. Just keep a record of that and put it in. Again, if you've got software, it works all that out for you. Lastly, last thing for you, checking you are recommended to get the figures checked by a third party. If you want, we can do that for you. Give us a nudge, and it doesn't cost a lot of money, but we'll run through your calcs for you and look at your report format, and we can check it all off for you. If it's not us, have a chat to the Carbon Trust. Very good group of people, know what they're doing, and they'll be able to offer the similar sort of service for you. Okay, there you go. SECR in a nutshell. I haven't timed myself. I don't know how long that was. Hopefully it's about 4 minutes. We'll see.